Good morning and hello and welcome to our Earth Day Everyday presentation. I'm really excited you could all be with me today. So my name is Nancy and I'm a Green Calgary Green Kids educator. This is a pre-recorded version of the Earth Day presentation that we did earlier in the week. So we're going to be focusing on water today. What do we need water for? Where does it come from? How does our water get polluted and wasted? And what can we do to conserve this very precious resource? So those are some of the things that we're going to be talking about and answering today. This is going to be an interactive presentation with quizzes and lots of opportunity for brainstorming and to share ideas in your classroom. Teachers, anytime I ask the students a question or ask them to brainstorm ideas, you can pause the video to allow time for this and start the video again when the kids are finished. Please note, some of the water information we're talking about today is Calgary-based information, so it might be slightly different if you're living outside of Calgary today. So who is Green Calgary? Well, Green Calgary is an environmental charity that supports Calgarians, such as all of you, to live a more sustainable life and to learn different ways that we can care for our city and our planet. Some of you may have already had Green Calgary in your classrooms this year for programs. So I'd like to begin with a land acknowledgement today. Green Calgary acknowledges that we live, work, and learn on the traditional lands of the people of Treaty 7. These are the Siksika, the Bigana, the Gaina, the Sutana, as well as the Yithka Stony Nakota. We acknowledge that this territory is home to the Métis Nation of Alberta. We are all treated people. So the first question that I want to ask you is, what do we use water for? So think about, what did you use water for today already? Teachers, go ahead and pause the video now and allow your students time to brainstorm the different ways that they've used water today and the different ways that we use water in general. And when you're ready, you can restart the video. All right, I'm sure you came up with some really great ideas. I have a few things that I've thought of. So let's have a look and see if some of your ideas were similar to some of my ideas. So of course, drinking, I'm sure we've all drank some water already today. We need water. Our bodies need water in order to function. Cooking, absolutely. There's a lot of things that we cook that we need water for. We also use water for fun things like boating, being out on the lake. Of course, showering and bathing. When we do our laundry, that uses water. And for other fun things like going to the swimming pool. And of course, our plants, not only in the house, but outside, also need water. All right, let's talk a little bit about who needs water. So what I'm going to be doing is showing you some pictures. And as a class, you're going to vote as to whether those things in the pictures need water. So you'll be voting with a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Teachers will move through this fairly quickly, so it'll be up to you to decide whether you want to pause the video for more discussion. I will allow some time in between each picture. Let's have a look at the first one. So this is a pretty easy one. We've already talked about it, but do people need water? Let's do a quick poll in the classroom. Thumbs up or thumbs down? So yeah, I think we can all agree that we as people need water in our everyday lives. All right, I have got some rocks or some stones. Is that a thumbs up? Yes, they need water. Or thumbs down, doesn't need water. Again, this is probably a pretty quick one. So rocks do not need water, but we often find rocks in water, but the rocks themselves don't need any water because they're not living. All right, what about fish? Do fish need water? Thumbs up, thumbs down. All right, yes, so fish, they live in water, so of course they need to have that water in order to survive. That is their environment. Next, we have plants. And again, I think we talked about this maybe a little bit already at the beginning, so this should be an easy one. Thumbs up, thumbs down. I'm imagining most all of you are going to be thumbs up. So yes, plants need water to live. They need water from the rain, or they need water from us if we're watering inside the home. All right, here's another one. So cactuses. What do we think about cactuses? Do cactuses need to have water to survive? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Take a little poll with the class. So yes, cactuses do need to have water, but the difference is they're designed to live in conditions where they might not need a whole lot of water. So they're very good at growing little bits with just small amounts of water. So even cactuses need water. All right, here's another easy one. I'm sure many of you have got pets like dogs. So do pets need water? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Yeah, that's a pretty easy one. That is definitely a yes. And our last one, I have a picture of a camel. So thumbs up, thumbs down. So yes, just like those cactuses, camels are designed to be able to survive, sometimes with very little to eat or very little to drink. So yes, they do need to have water, but sometimes they may not get a whole ton of water. So fun fact about camels is the hump that's on a camel's back is actually full of a type of fat that helps the camel to survive when food and water are limited. So I think we can all agree that every living thing needs to have water to survive. All right, I have a quiz question for you. So how much of the water on Earth is fresh water or drinkable water? So you can pause the video here if you like and take a few minutes to see what the class thinks. So the choices are A, 70%, B, 30%, or C, 3%. So now you can pause the video to see what the students in your classroom think. All right, so let's see what the answer is and see how it compares to what you all thought. So the answer is in fact 3%, not a whole lot. So we know that our Earth is made up of about 70% water, but of that water, almost all of it is salt water, which isn't drinkable. How many of you have been to the ocean and tasted ocean water? It's really salty, isn't it? And of course, we can't drink that water. So only 3% of all the water on Earth is fresh water or drinkable water. So here's a diagram that kind of illustrates that a little bit. So if we can think that all the water on Earth is in these 100 cups of water on the screen in front of you. Only about 3 of those cups of water, and you can see them at the top of the stack, only about 3 of those cups are actually fresh water or drinkable water. But a lot of that fresh water is actually not available to us because it's trapped in glaciers or ice caps. So we can't get at that water. So that leaves an even smaller amount of fresh water that's available us to drink. So less than 1%, which is probably less than one of those 3 cups on the top of the stack. So our water is really precious and we need to take care of what we have. So where does Calgary get its water from? Where do we get our drinking water? Well, we are very lucky to be able to turn on a tap just like this one and get clean drinking water. But does anybody know where that water comes from? Feel free to pause the video here to have a discussion with your class about where we actually get our drinking water from in Calgary. So all of Calgary's drinking water actually comes from two rivers, the Elbow River and the Bow River. And we're really lucky that there's only 3 towns ahead of Calgary who receive water from the rivers before us. So we are also very lucky to have some of the best drinking water in all of North America. So the traditional Blackfoot name for Calgary is Mokinstis, and that refers to the elbow shape of the river. So if you see on the picture in front of you, I've drawn kind of a red line that looks like that bent elbow shape because the Elbow River takes quite a sharp turn as it comes into Calgary before it connects to the Bow River. So let's talk a little bit about watersheds. What is a watershed? Well, a watershed is an area of land where all of the water in that area drains off to the same place, kind of like a funnel, how when we use a funnel, all the water or the liquid drains to the center of the funnel. And it also includes all of the air, the places, the wildlife, the birds, the plants, and the communities in that funnel. So we all live in a watershed, and ours is called the Bow River Basin. And it's really big. It's over 25,000 square kilometers. So where does our river go after Calgary? Well, if you look at the map, you can see that after Calgary, the Bow River continues on to some other communities. So do you think that what we do with our river will impact those other communities? I would say yes. So we need to make sure that we're caring for our river so that other people can have clean water to drink as well. And there are many other watersheds in Alberta, and all of those watersheds are connected, and all of the water within those watersheds are connected as well. So the interesting thing is that the earth is simply recycling all of its water. So there's no new drinking water on the planet. We just simply recycle what we have. So that means that the water that we are drinking right now and today in Calgary is the same as the water that the dinosaurs had millions of years ago. Does anybody remember the water cycle from grade 2? Maybe it's something that you're studying now in your grade. But the water cycle just shows how all of our water is simply recycled and that the ground naturally filters it. So the way that we use the water in our community and in Calgary is really going to impact how much we have. So we can work together to protect our water, or it can become polluted. So when we use our water inside, or when it rains or it snows outside, that water actually goes to two different places. So the wastewater from our homes and schools and other buildings, such as when we flush the toilet, we shower, we wash the dishes, or we wash our clothes, all of that water goes into some underground pipes that leads to one of our wastewater treatment plants. And once it's there, that water is cleaned before it's returned back to the water system in our river. Water from outside, like when it rains or it snows, goes down a storm drain and then into another series of underground pipes and goes straight to the nearest river without any cleaning. So in front of you, there is a picture of a home and some family members that are living in that home. And I would like you as students to have a good look at this picture and see if there's any ways or any activities, things that are happening in this picture that could potentially pollute our water as it goes down that storm drain. So teachers, go ahead and pause the video at this point and work with your students to find some examples in this picture of how our water is potentially getting polluted. All right, well, I'm hopeful that you have found a number of different ways that our water is potentially getting polluted by our human activities. So let's have a look. So we can see that one of the family members here, it looks like they're doing some fertilizing of the grass. And that fertilizer is not just going on the grass, but you can see that it's going off of the grass. And then there's some water that's going beside it that is picking that up, and then it's heading down the storm drain. So that is a potential source of pollution. And up at the top of the picture, they're watering their grass with the sprinkler. And so, of course, that water is going to be catching anything that's on the grass, potentially that fertilizer. But then you can see that that water is draining down the driveway and headed to the storm drain. So not only is it potentially picking up any contaminants on the ground, but water is actually also being wasted there as well. We want to make sure that we're watering our grass and not the driveway. And there's something leaking from that car, perhaps some oil or some gas. And because of the watering that's happening by the family member beside of it, that water is picking up that oil or gas, and that is draining down into our storm drains as well. And here's also another example of how water is being wasted. So when watering the lawn, make sure that you're watering the lawn and not the driveway. And then we've got some pet waste down at the bottom of the yard, and the water is also picking that up and sending it down the storm drain. And the last idea I had was these grass clippings that are ending up down the storm drain, and potentially there is some fertilizer there that's happened from the person who is fertilizing the grass. So again, that's also a source of pollution. All right. So this is kind of a funny picture, but it reminds us that our pets can't actually clean up after themselves. So that is our responsibility as pet owners to make sure that we are picking up after our pets so that pet waste isn't accidentally ending up into our waterways. Did you know that pet waste can be put into your compost bins? Remember to use compostable bags to do the pickup. Have you ever seen a storm drain that looks like this, that's got some different kinds of litter and stuff in it? Well, we want to make sure that our waste gets put where it needs to go, because this garbage is going to end up down the river if it goes down that storm drain. Remember how we talked about that there's no treatment that happens of storm water? So anything that gets carried down the storm drain is going to end up in our river. And of course, when it ends up in our river, it can travel even further and maybe even end up in our oceans. So let's keep our water clean by protecting it from pollution and keeping our waste and our garbage out of it. So let's talk a little bit about where our waste goes and where we can put our waste. So I'm sure that you're all familiar with these 3 different colored bins. Maybe you have similar colored bins in your classroom. So of course we know that the blue bin is for our recyclables like paper and cardboard and plastic containers and metal containers. And all of that goes to our recycling facility where it's made into new things or sent different places to get made into new things. We put our food scraps and our yard waste into the green bins, and that heads off to our compost facility where it's made into compost, which is a really great type of soil that we can add to our plants and our gardens. And of course, the black cart is for most other waste. And the waste that goes into our black cart goes to one of our 3 well-managed landfills in Calgary. Now, there are some things that we can't put into our black cart, such as different kinds of household hazardous waste like paint or old propane canisters, chemicals, cleaners. So we need to take that somewhere else because it's not good to have that going into our landfills. So many of our fire stations in Calgary will accept household hazardous waste. And there's actually other materials that can go to our free throw and go areas at one of our landfills. So if you go to the City of Calgary website and to what goes where, you can find out if certain things can go to our free throw and go areas at the landfills. So single-use items. Single-use items are things that are manufactured usually for the purpose of using them once and then throwing them away. But unfortunately, they often end up as litter and garbage on the ground, and that can harm our environment and our wildlife and potentially even get into our water streams. So by reducing our use of these items, we're actually making less waste. So I've put some items up on the screen in front of you there. And as a class, I would like you to choose one item on the screen to focus on. And what I'd like you to do is brainstorm maybe 2 or 3 different alternatives to the item that you chose that are going to reduce the waste created by that item. So for example, the plastic single-use water bottle that's on the screen, there's some great alternatives to that are going to create less waste. And I'm sure many of you are already using this in your classroom. So reusable water bottles are a great way to reduce the waste caused by single-use water bottles. So not even needing to buy them at all, just refill your own container every day and bring it to school or use it at home. So teachers, go ahead and pause the video now and give your classroom an opportunity to choose an item and then come up with a few alternatives to using that item that reduces the waste. All right. I'm sure that you've had an opportunity to come up with some great ideas. I'll go over a few ideas that I had, and maybe that will provide some new ideas for you as well. So I know that the plastic Ziploc baggies are a common thing that are used in lunches at school, but there's some other really great options to that don't create that type of waste. So things like silicone reusable containers, we've got cloth ones, um, these reusable type Tupperware type containers. But another thing to think about is without even having to buy those things, maybe just using a container that you already have at home to put something for your lunch in. Of course, straws, I think we're all probably familiar with some different alternatives. We've got metal straws, silicone straws, but I invite you all to reduce even further and think, do I really need a straw for that drink that I'm having? Of course, drink containers, bringing your own reusable container is a great idea. Condiment package, like the ketchup packages down in the corner, you can refuse those and just bring your food home and use your condiments that you have at home. Paper towel, we often use paper towel to clean up messes and then throw it away, or we can compost it. But at home, I like to just use a tea towel or a cloth to wipe up any of my messes, and then I can just launder that with my other laundry items. Wrapping paper. So often we'll wrap things in paper, and then that either gets thrown away or hopefully, if it's able, gets recycled. But I know many of us have got these gift bags hanging around at home that you can reuse several times. Maybe you've got some packaging in the mail that you could use to wrap a gift, or even take some coloring sheets that you've done or color a sheet and use that to wrap your gift in. And of course, some great alternatives to plastic cutlery is just using your own metal cutlery at home, popping that in your lunch. Or one thing I like to do is I have a set of reusable cutlery that I keep in my car so that when I'm out, if I buy food, that I can refuse or not use any of the plastic cutlery and just use my own reusable cutlery. So hopefully that was similar to some of the ideas that you've thought of, or maybe gave you some new ideas to think about. So Calgary is one of the cleanest cities in North America. So let's do what we can to keep garbage and waste where it needs to go. All right, let's talk a little bit about what the word drought means. So I'm going to give you some options. Is drought a long period of time with little to no rain? Is it water that overflows onto the dry ground? Is it a very windy day? So go ahead and pause the video while your classroom thinks about what a drought is. All right, let's see what the answer is. So A, a long period of time with little to no rain. So Calgary is currently experiencing a drought, and maybe you've heard a little bit about that on the news. So it's important for everyone to think about how we as individuals can use less water. So a drought is when there is less water available over a large physical area over a long period of time. And it happens when precipitation or rain or snow, river flow, and groundwater are all below average levels. And droughts develop slowly over time. So a drought can last anywhere from weeks to months, or even evolve into multi-year droughts if a particular area is consistently not getting enough moisture. And here in Calgary, we already have a dry climate, and climate change is expected to lead to longer, hotter, and drier summers in the future, meaning drought conditions could become more common or widespread in the future. So as our population grows and grows, more and more people are using this limited resource. And so we know water is so precious. We need to all do our part to conserve water at school and at home so we have enough to last for many, many, many years in the future. And so we're going to look at some ways at how you can do this. So another quiz question for you. Which room in your home uses the most water? So teachers, go ahead and pause the video. Actually, I'll give you your choices first and then you can pause the video. Is it A, the bathroom, B, the kitchen, or C, the laundry room? So now you can pause the video and talk about this with your students. All right, so the answer is actually A, the bathroom. Maybe you chose that. Maybe you're surprised that it's the bathroom. Well, did you know that more water is consumed in the bathroom than all of the other rooms in your home combined? Well, when you think about everything that you do in your bathroom, washing your hands, and also we have multiple bathrooms sometimes in our homes. We wash our hands, we brush our teeth, we shower, we bath, we use the toilet. There's lots of ways that we use water in our bathrooms. So how could we use less water in our bathroom or our kitchen or our laundry room? I would like your classroom to choose one of those rooms and then discuss some of the ways that you can use less water in those rooms. So go ahead and pause the video at this time and take an opportunity to discuss. All right, I'm sure that you thought of some great ideas, and I'm going to go over a few that I thought of, and you can see how many of these you thought of. So of course, showering. So having a shorter shower, maybe even time yourself and see if you can have a shower in 5 minutes or less. We also know that using the shower uses less water than the bath. Did you know that turning off the tap when you brush your teeth is a really important water saver? Just by doing this, you can save up to 68 cups of water. That's a lot. And of course, when you're washing your hands, once you get your hands wet and you're soaping your hands, while you're soaping and sudsing your hands, you could turn the water off and then turn it back on when you're ready to rinse. Let's think of the kitchen. Many of us will wash maybe a fresh apple or wash our vegetables underneath of a running tap. But what about if we put some water into a bowl or just into the sink and we washed our fruits and vegetables that way? And then you can use that water to water the plants in your home or outside of your home. Let's run the dishwasher when it's full. And another great way to reduce water is rather than running the tap to get cold water, fill up a pitcher or a jar of water and put that in the fridge and keep it full all the time. And then it's basically cold and ready for you anytime you want it. And in the laundry room, a great way to conserve water is to wash full loads rather than just a few things. We can all be leak detectives, and that means just keeping an eye out for if you hear or if you see any drips from taps or toilets, go ahead and tell an adult so they can get that fixed as soon as possible. You'd be surprised how much water can be wasted just from a few drips. So if we think of a tap that might be dripping very little, maybe just 5 drips a minute, well, in one day, those 5 drips a minute can turn into 1.8 liters of wasted water per day, which is about the same as a carton of milk. And in 1 year, that small drip can equal 657 liters per year, which is about the same as 5 full bathtubs. So be a leak detective. How could we catch more water? I'm sure that you would have some great creative ideas about how we could catch more water outside. So pause the video here and see if you can come up with some great ideas. Well, maybe one of the ideas you came up with is simply putting buckets or containers outside on the ground to catch rainwater. And sure, that would work, but have you ever heard of or seen rain barrels? That's a really great way to collect rainwater from the eaves of our houses when it rains. And then you can use this water to water your plants and your trees at home instead of using the water from the hose. And it's a free gift from Mother Nature, so why not? We as Calgarians use a lot more water in the summer because of our outdoor watering for our yards and our plants. But one rain barrel can save up to 900 liters of water per year, which is about the same as 6 or more full bathtubs. That's a lot of water. Think of how many plants you could water with that all summer long. So together, we can make every drop count. Well, we've shared lots of ideas today on how to use less water and how to keep our water clean. So talk to your families, talk to your friends about what you've learned today too. And make a pledge to try to do one thing today, or maybe even every day this week, that could help save water or keep our water clean. If we all work together, we can make a really big difference. Now, I know because this is a recorded version of this program, I'm not able to answer questions for you right now. But if you've got some questions that you'd like to ask our team about water, feel free to email us. I've put our email up on the screen, education@greencalgary.org. We'd love to hear from you. And if you'd like to learn more about water and how you can conserve it, teachers, feel free to scan this QR code and it'll take you to a resource sheet where you'll find lots of links to the Green Calgary programs that we offer in schools and for community groups, information about our free school waste assessment, free school waste assessment rental kit, which is a great addition to classroom learning. And we have other environmental themed rental kits available as well. And lastly, there will be a survey link that you can use if you'd like to provide feedback on this presentation. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you have a great Earth Day every day. Thanks, everybody. Bye.